Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I am your host, Pam Maldonado, and I am bringing you all of the analytics behind the ATP bets. I am writing solo today. I do not have Drew Dinsick with me. I do not have Gil Gross of the Tennis Channel Podcast Network with me to help me break down week 2 of Wimbledon, but that's okay. I'm going to give this a try on my own. I've actually never done a solo podcast, so we're going to see how this goes. Don't judge. Take it easy on me. This is a community. So I've got this. I've got you. Let's talk about Wimbledon week 2. This has been a fantastic tournament. I'm enjoying every minute of it. More so, Tim van Rijthoven. He's been one of my favorite players this grass court season, and he absolutely did us perfectly well by cashing in 2 tickets, taking the plus 1.5 sets, taking plus 2.5 sets to Novak Djokovic, and of course, hitting the over with taking that set. But this is my first solo pod, so let's see how it goes. Now, on Tuesday, we do have the quarterfinals, day 1 of the quarterfinals, 4 matches in place. I'm excited. Novak Djokovic, 6-time Wimbledon champion against 20-year-old, I forgot how young he is, 20-year-old Jannik Sinner. He is ranked number 13th in the world. Djokovic is minus 6.5 on the game line. He is a minus 900 favorite over Jannik Sinner, a plus 575 underdog. The game total for this match is 34. Now, Sinner, prior to Wimbledon, he was 0-1 at Wimbledon, losing to Martin Fucsovics in 4 sets just last year. He is 18-10 overall in slams, and he is 7-7 against top 10 players in his career. And of course, this season we have seen Sinner struggle with his own injuries. He had blisters on his feet at one point. He was a WD in one tournament. He retired in another match. But he has only played, Jannik Sinner, young little 20-year-old Jannik Sinner, has only played 4 5-set matches in his career, and he is 2-2 in those matches. And he had wins over Gal Monfils 2021 US Open. He had a win over Pierre Hughes-Imbert 2021 Roland Garros, and his 2 losses were against Denis Shapovalov at the last year's Australian Open and Karen Khachanov at the 2020 US Open. I know that you're going to look at Sinner and you're going to think, I want to back him as an underdog. He can absolutely upset Novak Djokovic. Y'all need to chill. That's what I'm going to say. Y'all need to chill. Jannik Sinner looked absolutely stellar. I do mean stellar in his 4-set win over Carlos Alcaraz. But there's a few things over that. One, that was just a classic mismatch situation. Prior to this tournament, we were all thinking, this is not the tournament that we want to break Alcaraz because we don't know where his style of play fits into the grass court season. And this was the perfect matchup to show why so many of us were hesitant to back him. Sinner was just absolutely too powerful in this match. Usually, Carlos is used to dictating play on his own on a slower surface. He can do that. And the fact that he wasn't able to do that, it absolutely rattled Carlitos. Now, the way that Sinner's ball comes off the court, it has a lot of action. Now, when I say that, it means that it can be, he has topspin, he hits a flat ball, it has like a high kick. There's just a lot of variance to his spin. There's a lot of variance to his ball that you can't really pinpoint how you want to combat that. And it can just be really overwhelming. And we actually did see it in the match itself with Carlos. Let me go ahead and pull up what that scoreline was between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. He came out blasting Sinner in the first set. Sinner came out 6-1 over Carlitos in the first set. Absolutely, Carlos was not ready for this match at all. He was spraying it left and right. He was spraying it over beyond the baseline. He had no idea how to handle the pace. Now in the second set, you saw it got a little bit tighter. Sinner won that set 6-4. That's where you're starting to see Alcaraz kind of get the hang of things. He's starting to find his groove. He was calming down. Things were starting to click a little bit more for him. Now in the third set, that is where Carlos Alcaraz came out with the win, 7-6 in a third set tiebreak. He was definitely getting used to the pace of play. He was starting to control his shots a little bit more. And then it was just a little bit too late though. And that's why you saw him lose 6-3 in the fourth. I think this is a good learning experience for Alcaraz, and maybe next year he could be a contender. He's only going to get better from here on out. He's only going to get more comfortable. His shot selection is going to start clicking in his mind of where he needs to be more aggressive, where he needs to lay back and let the mistakes come to him. But this was just a mismatch situation. Sinner was absolutely overwhelming over Alcaraz. So I am not at all going to be using that as a factor in this matchup against Djokovic. Djokovic holds a 2-0 record over Jannik Sinner. So the last time that they played was last year's Monte Carlo Masters on clay. Djokovic won 6-4, 6-2. Prior to that, it was also last year on hard court. Djokovic won 6-3. Excuse me, 6-3. And then something else, I cut it off. But playing against, now the reason why I'm not at all stressed over this match, Djokovic absolutely is not losing this match. No way, without a doubt, is he losing this match. Djokovic has, I mean, first off, you're talking about a man who is the best on grass, not only of this generation, but of all time. I've always put Pete Sampras in Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic in the same category as being the top 3 grass court players of all time. This is Djokovic, and he is playing smooth tennis as of now. He is running into this pretty comfortably. TVR was, Tim van Rijthoven was a really good test for him, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But now I'm talking about how Sinner was absolutely just overwhelming and overpowering for somebody like a Carlos Alcaraz. Well, now you're playing against a man who has absolutely no problem with pace, and like none at all. He is the best. Djokovic is single-handedly the best returner in all of tennis. And in fact, he actually uses that pace against you. So he has good redirection. He is a good counterpuncher. And as you can see, is absolutely fine shifting to a higher gear when he needs to. His match against Tim van Rijthoven, it was really interesting to see because he came out playing level 1 in the first set. And it was working for him. Djokovic came out and said, I'm going to try to preserve my shots. I'm going to go into the next round. Let me see how minimal I can provide, throw out there, and see if it gets the job done. And it worked in the first set. He won 6-2. Then Van Rijthoven comes out and he just plays some of the most beautiful tennis. That was that second set match. Djokovic and Van Rijthoven was a fantastic second set match. Van Rijthoven won 6-4. Novak had to take his gear from level 1 to level 2. And then after that, blast Rijthoven 6-1, 6-2 to win in 4. That was Djokovic realizing that he needed to up his level because Van Rijthoven was somebody that he cannot overlook. TVR was starting to find his rhythm. He's starting to find his groove. His shot selection was there. His patience, his composure, it was just all perfection. His baseline game was good. His net game was good. His serving was spectacular. Yeah, like 10 aces against Djokovic. This is the best returner in the world, and he's out acing comfortably Djokovic. It was just his slice game is fantastic. Djokovic had to say, all right, that's enough. I have to kick it into high gear and I'm going to get this done. That's exactly what he's going to come into this match with Jannik Sinner. He's going to know automatically that he cannot start out at a level 1. He has to already start out at a level 3, a level 4, just because of how handily he defeated Alcaraz. TVR's style is definitely a lot more of a threat to Djokovic than Sinner's is. And there's a few reasons for that. 1, they hadn't played each other. It was a surprise effect. And 2, TVR has a lot of variety in his game. I talked about the ability to bring Djokovic into the net, back into the net. He had the lob, he had the drop shot, he has the slice. He's bringing him up and down, left and right. Sinner is a baseliner, and he's a powerful baseliner, but he is still a baseliner, and he doesn't have the amount of weapons that Van Rijthoven has. So now there's a couple of options that I like for this. Djokovic is not losing, first off. I would want to parlay him with something, but I don't think that there's an option right now to parlay him with. Maybe, but if I wanted to take Djokovic just straight, I think the only option would be is to do -6.5 games. That's asking for 1 break of serve in each set. You could pay a little bit more juice, -140 and drop it down to -6 games, just in case this ends up being like a 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 situation. I'm not entirely convinced that Djokovic is absolutely confidently going to win this match in three sets, but I definitely think that it is going 4 max. I don't see this going 5 sets, but -1.5 sets is -385. So you're going to have to parlay Djokovic. If you want to play him, you're going to have to parlay him somehow, some way. So taking him on the money line with something else, taking him -1.5 sets at -385 and pairing that with something else, or taking the risk of -6 and or -6.5 games. So Djokovic, that's my prediction. He's not losing this game, and I'm calling it max in 4. Now, the second match that we have on the day is Belgian pro David Goffin against former TCU British player in Cam Norrie. Goffin is a 4.5. Goffin is a +190 underdog to Cam Norrie, a -230 favorite. And the game total in this is 38.5 with the game spread of -4.5. They have only one meet prior to this, and it was at last year's Barcelona, which is a clay court event. Cam Norrie won the first set 6-0. And then Goffin was winning the second set 5-3 before he retired. That's kind of been a telling situation, a reoccurring situation with Goffin over the last couple of years. He's been in and out of injury. And this tournament, this season, this year, Goffin has really been working, grinding his way back into form, trying to overcome. One, he dropped down in the rankings. He's playing some really tough opponents. He's trying to get those wins. He is getting those wins. And now look at where he's at. I'm speculating at this point that Goffin might absolutely be just like gassed at this point, because he had a 3-hour 4-set win over Ugo Humbert. And now he's coming off a pretty, and I mean a pretty damn physical 4.5-hour match, 5-set match win over Francis Tiafoe. That was both taxing mentally and physically on the body. It was a grind for both players, and it literally took up until the last point for someone to break, and it was Tiafoe who lost his serve to lose the match. But this is Goffin's 4th quarterfinals in majors, and this is his first at Wimbledon. He definitely has the experience of these big time tournaments, and he has the experience of being late, of having not only the amount of matches that he's played, but having the wins in these big tournaments. He's finally coming back into a level that I believe that he was at a couple of years ago prior to all of those injuries. The biggest thing that for Goffin has been that he hasn't had the belief in himself. He's 100% good. He's a top 10 player. He is a top 10 player. The problem for me is just, I don't know if he has the physicality at this point to sustain somebody like a Cam Norrie. This is getting this far in a major for him, for Goffin, coming back from injury is huge. So if he loses, I'm not at all discrediting what he has done to get up to this point. It's really important for him to understand that this is just the next level in that rebuild, in that comeback. And so I'm really looking forward to watching him at the Australian Open. Hopefully he can stay healthy from now until then, not the Australian Open, at the US Open. Hopefully he can stay healthy from now until then. But as far as this tournament, this match against Norrie in the quarterfinal, this might be the only reason why he's not able to contend against Norrie, is because of having those legs, not having those legs, being tired coming into this match. I know you get a day break, but Cam Norrie is a physical player. He is a left-handed player, so that's always going to be a tough test. And he's more fresh. He's had back-to-back. Norrie has had back-to-back straight set wins. And now we're talking about somebody who's coming off back-to-back 4-hour matches, somebody against back-to-back straight set wins. But all right, let's just say then for purposes that he's not tired, can he come out with a win? Yes. Goffin, he doesn't dominate against left-handed players though. He's 2-3 against left-handed players this year, and he's 48-31 against left-handed players overall. It's still going to be a difficult match either way. And that's the problem that I have with trying to back Goffin. As a fan, I absolutely want to, because I want to see him contend and do so well. But from a betting perspective, there's no value in backing him, at least pre-match, because we just don't know how tired he is entering this matchup against Norrie. Now on the live line situation, if you end up seeing that, all right, he's looking pretty good, he's looking fresh, he's doing a little couple of bounces, he's has some energy, has a pep in his step, then maybe I would want to consider him taking him live. But from a pre-match tournament, it's kind of hard to see that this wouldn't necessarily be a straight set win. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I think that's just like one option that you have to look at. So you have Djokovic in a parlay situation. You could do, let me see what that would be. If you parlay Djokovic with a Norrie, that's only minus 165. If you parlay Djokovic with Norrie, I don't think that's necessarily a bad price. The risk would definitely be Norrie because it's just an unknown situation at this point of whether Goffin is going to contend in this or not. I do think that a straight set victory is an option. Cam Norrie is a minus 230 favorite. Minus 4.5 games is an option. I really under 38.5 is an option. I really just see Cam Norrie winning this in straight sets and moving on to the next. So the next match that we have that won't be until Wednesday, you have the Chilean clay court specialist in Cristian Garin versus the bad boy in Nick Kyrgios. Garin is a plus 260 underdog and Kyrgios is a minus 325 favorite. It's a similar game spread, 38.5, and a similar 48.5, and a similar game total of 38.5. Now, Garin, he has been very fortunate in this tournament. His path definitely opened up after a WD from Matteo Berrettini. It was supposed to be his first round of matchup. Because of COVID, but Berrettini ended up having a WD before he even played a match, which is unfortunate because he had 2 grass court titles this season. He definitely could have made some noise. Potentially, we should be talking about him right now in this situation. Instead, we have Garin, who had straight set wins in his first and second round matches. And then he defeated an American in Jenson Brooksby in 4, which definitely not impressive because Brooksby has one of the worst serves on tour. And somebody like Garin, who is able to return, obviously took advantage of that. But then he had a really tough, fought hard battle. He was down 2-0 to Alex de Minaur. He won the match in 5 sets in a 5th set tiebreak. That was a match that lasted 4.5 hours long. So if I'm talking about Goffin coming off a match that was nearly 5 hours long, how is he going to have the legs to continue on this late in a tournament? It's kind of a similar situation with Garin coming off a 5-setter. And Kyrgios, oh man, what a wild card. I'm talking about Nick Kyrgios, who is just like a firecracker. You saw all of the antics. You saw all of the ups and the downs and the drama. Oh, it was drama against Stefanos Tsitsipas just a couple of rounds ago. His match against Brandon Nakashima, that was the most composed that I have ever seen Nick Kyrgios in a match, probably ever. Just notice, if you watch that match, watch some highlights. Just notice how focused Kyrgios was against Nakashima. It's almost like he was just tired of the drama himself, or he's like, I can taste a quarterfinal, I can taste the final, and maybe that brought him to be a little bit more serious. Whatever it was, it worked. But against Garin, he's going to have to keep that same level of focus because he'll need to have that, because Garin has shown that he can at least take a set away from players like John Isner. So that's another big server. That's the biggest server. We're talking about Nick Kyrgios having one of the biggest serves on tour. Well, what do you think John Isner is? Serve bot 1.0. He's the originator of serve bot because that's all he knows how to do. The difference is Kyrgios has that power forehand. He has a power backhand. He's just so strong in multiple aspects. So he needs to be able to hold on to this type of focus to get through somebody like Garin. If Garin can take a set off of somebody who is a lot calmer on court, like John Isner, then Kyrgios needs to absolutely make sure that his head is screwed on correctly. Now, these two players, they don't have a head-to-head history. This is actually the first time that they're ever facing each other. But prior to Wimbledon, Garin was 5-8 on grass, so not a lot of experience and clearly not a lot of wins. But now he is 8-3 in 5-set records after defeating de Minaur today. And then Kyrgios, he's 6-0 in 5-setters at Wimbledon and 11-3 in 5-set matches overall. So the surprise for me is that it would actually surprise me if Kyrgios did not win in straight sets. And I'm not discounting Garin's talents here. You're just talking about a different type of beast. This is a different type of player who seems to have a goal in mind. Garin hasn't really played on many faster surfaces. He has though taken a set off of Isner on clay and on hard, but he lost to Milos Raonic in straight sets at the Australian Open. When it comes to Kyrgios, the big question mark becomes, is he tired? This is his first quarterfinal since 2005. I mean, and his shoulder, he was going like this the entire match against Nagashima. At some point, he stopped doing that. Either the pain went away or it was just a front. And with Kyrgios, we never know. But you're talking about kind of two unknown situations. So I think for me, it's super just realistically at this point in the tournament, you're just backing the better players. So far, that would be Novak Djokovic. Cam Norrie, I'm hesitant to say is the better player, but he's the better player right now based off coming off straight set victories over David Goffin, who's had back-to-back grueling matches. And that's going to be Kyrgios. So you could do a Kyrgios Norrie parlay at minus 125. I think that totally makes sense and that's reasonable. For a regular 1-unit bet, it would be hard to not see either player winning in straight sets. I don't know if I want to play this myself. This is not how I work. I like to take my time, think about some options. I like to go to the gym. I have to go there next, think about what I want to do. But so far, that seems to be like the only thing that I see in play is doing a Kyrgios Norrie option. Let me see what adding Djokovic would do. If you did a Djokovic Norrie Kyrgios, you're getting even money. Almost sold. I would probably want to do that. Djokovic is absolutely not losing. Kyrgios should not be losing. And then that would be like the upset of the century. And then Norrie, that would be the big question mark for me. But then you have the match that I'm super excited to see, the match that we have all been waiting for, that we're expected to see is Taylor Fritz, American. We're going to see a rematch versus Rafael Nadal. At the game spread, the lines aren't out yet. I do see Fritz as a plus 225 favorite. I don't see anything yet for the Nadal. Sorry, take that back. Fritz as a plus 225 underdog. I don't know yet what the odds are for Nadal's as a favorite. That hasn't been posted, but the game spread's also 45. The game total is 38. So now that this big thing, it was almost like destiny to happen because like ever since Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's the Canadian, I was expecting Felix to do some really great things in Wimbledon, and he was upset in the first round to another French American in Maxime Cressy. Fritz was the only player after that. Marin Cilic, WD because of COVID. Matteo Berrettini, WD because of COVID. Felix Auger-Aliassime, upset in the first round. That left Taylor Fritz as really the only player left in Nadal's half of the draw that could have been a threat to him because he has a really good serve, that is complemented here on grass. He has a pretty stable baseline game and a powerful forehand. You combine all of three, you have him, Fritz, winning easily, straight set victories. He's getting through just fine. He has multiple weapons at his disposal. They actually did already play Nadal this year, and he won at Indian Wells for the title. Now, the big difference is you have to remember about that Indian Wells match. You cannot just look at a score line, be like, oh, he won. Fritz defeated Nadal in straight sets. Remember that Nadal at the time was not aware that he had a fractured rib. It was only after that he said, I'm going to take a break. I need this to heal 6 weeks. He missed the first half of the clay court season because of that injury. And then he ended up coming back, and now we see him grass at Roland Garros and just do amazing things. Now he has won 2 of the 4 majors, but grass only benefits Fritz's game. Nadal is absolutely going to have to play with his full bag of tricks. I'm talking about the type of variety that Tim van Rijthoven was bringing to play Djokovic. That's exactly what Nadal is going to have to do in order to play Fritz. Nadal has made it to this part of the draw where he's going to have to play at a very high level from here on out if he wants to contend, if he wants to win the title, because he's not going to be playing schlubs. You're going to have right now Taylor Fritz on deck in the quarterfinal. You're going to have the winner of Kyrgios versus Garin, which is likely going to be Kyrgios. And then the winner of that is going to face potentially Novak Djokovic. You're in the final. You have to play perfection, 100%, high level tennis. Nadal is fully capable of doing that. The big thing is Fritz has this serve. Okay. You know that that's what his weapon. How are you going to combat that? All you have to do easier said than done. Just get the ball into the play, start the point, start the rally, extend the point. Well, how exactly does he do that? You're talking about Nadal. He's a great returner, yes. But this is a faster surface. He's not as good of a returner as Djokovic. On clay and hard, the way you do that is by neutralizing the serve by standing so far behind the baseline. Have you ever seen a Nadal point where he's playing a big server on these slower surfaces, and you can't even see him in the video frame, because his back is literally against the wall, because that's how he is neutralizing that serve, by standing so far behind the baseline that it really kind of like takes pace off of that big server's baseline. This is why you see Nick Kyrgios throw out the underhand serve, because you have those players who like, oh, well, I'll just stand far back. Kyrgios is going to punish you by, well, I'll just underhand serve because you're so far back. Well, you can't do that on grass, because players like a Fritz, they're just going to serve and volley, and that serve and volley is going to kill you. So instead, you have to like punch it, you have to block it. Nadal can do that, and he can do that just fine. I'm really excited for this match. Let me take a look at what the odds are, and let me see if they have been updated. Still 4.5. They still haven't posted a favorite money line as of yet. The game total for this is 38. I'm not ready to call for the upset. I'm perfectly happy with the Nadal Djokovic money line. I think the Nadal money line is probably going to be close to maybe 300-ish. So if you were to do a Nadal Djokovic money line, it's going to be close to around the 160 range. I would be perfectly fine doing that. I think that's entirely doable. One of the reasons why I backed Tim van Rijthoven in the final of Lobima Open against Medvedev is because Medvedev had like an easy ride. He had an easy path into the final. That by the time he got to the final, he was not at all prepared for what Tim van Rijthoven was going to bring him. That's kind of the same situation for what's happening now. You have Taylor Fritz, who had Lorenzo Musetti straight set victory in the first round. He played somebody named Alistair Gray, which is a qualifier in the second round, straight set victory. He played Alex Molkin, straight set victory. He just got off playing another qualifier in Jason Kubler, straight set victory. Taylor Fritz has not been tested in this tournament, absolutely at all. Now, you can kind of say the same thing for Nadal, because he played, well, actually his opening match against Francisco Cerundolo. I know that he's a clay court player, just like Garin, but he's a very good clay court player. And that was a very good warm-up set. And then he ended up defeating Richard Berankis. And he also comfortably defeated, this is a big one, Nadal has been tested in this tournament. Now that I'm looking at it, being reminded of who he's played, Lorenzo Sonego, very good grass court player, because he does have the big serve. Nerves were definitely there. It came into play, and he just completely basically handed it over to Nadal. It's like he looked over the net and was like, oh, I'm playing Nadal. I forgot how to play my game. But then he just got over a third set tiebreak today against Botic van de Zandschulp. That was a very good one. Are we seeing some blips from Nadal? This is the big question mark, because he lost his opening service game in the third set. He broke Botic later. He broke Botic later in the third set, got broken back. He was serving out the match, 5-3, got broken. They ended up in a third set tiebreak. Nadal cannot make those mistakes against a Taylor Fritz, because Taylor is not going to give up those points easily. So that's going to be the big difference. That could be the question mark. I would say that this is something that could go over, but I believe that I have more confidence in Nadal coming out with a win than I do with like a 5-set match. Frankly, I'm at this point not going with hunches. I'm going with high conviction plays, and I'm going to players that I trust. I absolutely trust Djokovic. I absolutely trust Nadal. I don't want to trust Nick Kyrgios, because who does? But he should come out with a win. And Norrie over Goffin, I think that could just be a complete stay away for me personally, because as a fan, I want to see Goffin. But I would say that the best play would probably be combining Norrie, Kyrgios on the money line in a 2-player parlay. You can get that at -125. You can do a Djokovic and a Nadal 2-player parlay, a little bit more juice. That's -160. But that's kind of what the combination that I would roll with. and maybe look at Djokovic at -6.5 games. You can do Norrie straight set victory. I'm not calling for straight set victories at this point in the match. At quarterfinal, it's very difficult to do, no matter who it is you're playing, just because nerves start kicking in. This is the deepest that players have gone into a major, and it starts kicking in. And like, oh, holy shit, I'm going to go into a semifinal next. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be playing Nadal. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be playing Djokovic. So I don't want to be taking on straight set wins at this point, but Kyrgios should be a straight set win. Norrie, I feel more comfortable parlaying him as a winner. Djokovic, he's winning in 4 or better. And then Nadal, I don't know how he gets done, but he's going to come out with a win. And I feel comfortable saying that. He is the better player. And I'm not at all using what Fritz did at Indian Wells, because Nadal had a rib injury, which later found out we know was a fractured rib. And if you recall that match, he was 100% wearing it all over. He couldn't walk. When he celebrates, it's usually like, yeah, major, powerful. He's in it. You can't tell if it was like the point of, you could have been a game that he won in the final. That's how much Nadal celebrates. But in that match, his victories were like, he was hurting, and he was stumbling, and he was limping, and he was trying so hard to just get through that match. And he was being very gracious to Fritz, because that was a title for him, and he didn't want to take away from that moment. So I'm going to put my trust in Nadal, and that's likely what I'm going to be doing, is doing a Nadal Djokovic parlay over the course of 2 days, and just wait for it. But I don't make any final decisions as of yet, because I got to go to the gym and I got to think about it. And I want to like eat a meal and go into this and think of the full replay in my head of how is this going to work out? Well, if this gets in this situation, what's likely to happen? And honestly, just what I see happening is Djokovic is going to win. Norrie's going to win basically by default, because Goffin should be tired. Kyrgios should also get the win, because Garin has not gotten to this point. Grass is not his best surface, and he should not be able to handle a Nick Kyrgios serve. And then I'm going to roll with Nadal, because I trust him, and I know that he's here at Wimbledon because he wants to chase that calendar slam, because he's not going to have that many more chances left. He's 36 years old. He's getting up there. Ask yourself, if you're Nadal, how many more opportunities are you going to have to chase a calendar slam? Not many. With players like Carlos Alcaraz in the mix, with players like Jannik Sinner who are coming up, with players like Taylor Fritz who could get in your way. With Djokovic still in contention, and now he's 2 back. He's hungry as ever. This is his likely best and only chance that he has this late in his career. So I'm putting my trust in that Nadal is going to be absolutely ready for this and gets it done. Maybe even in 4 sets. 4 sets are better, but I trust that he's going to win. So that's it. I'm only going to do the quarterfinals because I need to look at lines. I need to see what they are for the semifinals, but I am predicting that we are going to have a Djokovic Norrie semifinal for the top half of the draw, and then a Kyrgios Nadal for the bottom half of the draw. And that's where things could get really interesting. Does Nadal how grueling was his match against Fritz? That maybe he's going into this tired against Kyrgios. Same thing with Kyrgios. How grueling of a match is that going to be with Garin that he's going into this? Maybe he's already starting to get tired. We're seeing his game spreads get lower and lower. So I think that's kind of like an indicator of maybe the books are onto should not be lasting this long. So we're looking for the upset. Nadal is 6-3 in head-to-head over Kyrgios. The last time that they actually played was 2019 Wimbledon, and Nadal took it to 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that was a 4-set match. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Nadal won in 4 sets over Nick. 2 tie breaks. Interesting. And the last time that Kyrgios defeated Nadal was 2019 Acapulco hard court. That was 3 sets, 2 tie breaks. So they're both going to try to close this out in straight sets, save their legs for the next match. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that match. All right, but that's it. That does it. Maybe some ramblings. I've never done a solo podcast, so I'm used to asking questions. I want to get other people's input. I'm used to doing short form videos. So bear with me. I'll get used to this. But that does it for the quarterfinal preview of Wimbledon. You can follow me on Twitter at Pamela M35. I'm going to be posting stuff to my Twitter account for sure if I do decide to play anything. But that is it for another episode of Stack Stats.